Hello, welcome back to the channel. Coming up in this episode,
the 2018. So I've got the older model. It's even got the missing odd little screw. So you're actually getting a little bit of vibration from that. What's annoying? Let's see how fast you can go. Get it!
well, you know this is going to be good. So let's get into it. Cue the intro.
Well, in this episode, I get to do something a little bit different. Now, if you've been watching this channel, you'll already know that I have bought a brand spanking new 2021 Himalayan Euro 5. And I've been hacking away at the miles, and I've got my 300 miles in, and it's in for its first service. And the garage has lent me the 2018. So I've got the older model. Now, they made the Himalayan from 2016 onwards, but it gives me a real opportunity to see what the differences are between the older model and the new model, and a little bit more in depth. And now I've experienced the new 2021 model. Is there a big difference, and how are they keeping, sort of how they hold it up? In regards to this bike, this is the courtesy bike, so it's obviously had a bit of a battering. But let's have a look around the bike and let's go through a few of the changes, and let's look at if it's worth getting the older Himalayan or just go out and buy a brand new one. Anyway, let's check it out. Now, the 2018, so basically 2016 to 2021 is the Euro 4 version, pretty much. Now, this bike itself, there's not a lot of differences. Now, if you just literally stood instead a brand new bike and then put this next to it, you'd probably struggle to see any difference at all. And the reality of it is, all they've done is they've refined the newer version. So you pretty much are getting the same bike. And I'll explain some of the differences in a minute. Now, I thought originally when I got on the Royal Enfield Himalayan on the 2021, because when I literally went out and test drove these in the first place, they gave me an older one and a new one. And the newer one actually, to me, felt that little bit lighter, that little bit better. But now I've had a 2021 for a while and I've jumped back on this. It feels no different. It feels just as light. It feels like exactly the same bike. Okay, let's talk about some of the differences. So on the older version, a lot of people prefer this looking Royal Enfield. Now on the newer version, it's black. This has that silver, and it is quite nice. The differences with the newer version is that the black is actually metal and this is plastic. So that's pretty much the difference. It's a slightly different engine frame there, but again, nothing massive. Now, a thing that you get on the 2018, and a lot of people, if you're going to buy these second hands, will probably have changed these anyway, but you get Pirelli MT60s. Now on the newer version, you get an Indian tyre that I've never heard of ever. But to be fair, that newer version, to me, feels like it grips that little bit better. But again, tyres are tyres, and when you're buying second hand, more than likely, you'll get whatever the last owners put on, or you'll change them yourself. Now, the other side of things that's different between the newer and the older version is this rack. Now, the newer version is 7 kilograms. I believe that this is only a 5 kilogram rack. It can be a little bit prone for snapping. There again is loads of cheap upgrades you can do to strengthen that a little bit bigger, or just don't be a pig and take too many pies on the back and you'll be pretty much covered. And then the big noticeable difference is on this version, this dash here, is that you've got a turn by turn on the new version and you don't on this old version. And also on this version, you can't switch off the ABS. Now, I've done some off-roading on my 2021, and what I'll say is, unless you're going to go absolutely nuts and gnarly on this bike, I didn't really tell the difference by switching off the ABS because I probably wasn't going as nuts. This bike is more than capable of doing off-roading with the ABS on, so I wouldn't be a massive put off unless you are planning on literally riding it across a desert, and then that would be a really cool feature. And then you've got a turn-by-turn sat-nav on the new version. You haven't on this as well. That turn-by-turn sat-nav for me has been a pain up the bum, so it's not something I'll probably use that often. And again, you don't really need it these days when you can get yourself a nice little phone mount and mount it, and you've got yourself a sat-nav sorted. The other difference is also this windscreen. Now, this windscreen, again, is it looks a little bit thicker at the top. The newer version is a little bit bigger because it takes on that turn-by-turn sat-nav, and I actually find the newer windscreen a little bit better than this older windscreen for wind blast, but not enough to be hugely bothered. So what you're getting is very little minor changes and nothing of any massive relevance other than that rear rack taking a few more kilograms of weight, but there isn't really much in it. So if you are looking at a second-hand Royal Enfield, and if it's between new and old, the problem is the older ones really hold their price well, and you think for an extra £1,000, because these are going for about £3,500 second hand, for an extra just over £1,000, well, £1,100, you can buy a brand new one. And that's kind of the problem. They're holding their price because they're becoming more and more popular bikes. But if you can find one at the right price, and you can get them from about 2,700 upwards, and I'd really shop around because there is some ropey ones out there. But let's have a quick look at how this bike's actually lasted. Now, like I said, it has been absolutely battered, but we'll have a look around and see what condition the bike's in for something that has been abused. For me, I'll say, being a courtesy bike, this has quite clearly been left outside and stuff like that by people that borrowed it, because a lot of people, unfortunately, when they do borrow bikes from dealerships, they don't look after it like they'd look after their own, or they can't even be bothered. Now, obviously, this again is a 3-year-old bike now, so it has had a fair bit of wear, and there's obviously some marks on the handguards. There's obviously some scratches on the panels where it's been dropped or scraped against something as well. It's even got the missing odd little screw where obviously they've either taken it out to put on another bike or it's fallen off. I don't know. Now, if we're looking around sort of the engine, you can see there is some start of corrosion coming through. And again, for a bike that they just make sure is mechanically sound because people don't look after them, this isn't really that bad. If you leave a bike outside in the rain and don't take care of it, it gets a lot worse than this, even after a year. And that's why it's so important to use things like ACF 50, or even if you want to go for the cheaper sort of version of doing it, spraying some WD-40 around the engine to protect it. But to be fair, okay, it is not being looked after because it's a courtesy bike, but it's held up for 3 years of being battered, if you think about it, actually really, really well. So I'm actually quite impressed. Now, riding side of this, mechanically wise, it is fantastic. I'm getting a little bit of vibration because it's got another screw missing over here in the windshield, so you're actually getting a little bit of vibration from that. What's annoying, but again, it's just put a bolt in there, it'd be good. So it is holding up, like I said, extremely well for basically how it's been looked after, because look at the state of this. What's a real shame, I wish people would look after the courtesy bikes as well, because the garage will obviously have to do what they do, because at this garage they look after you, so they're obviously going to clean this all up before they end up selling it. But this is why it's a courtesy bike. So there you go, it's held up pretty well. I'm quite impressed, to be fair, because I know that they're abused. Now let's take this for a spin and see if I can notice any difference between the newer and the older ones. But to be honest, so far, I can't really tell any difference whatsoever. Well, I've walked around it and we've looked at the differences, and to be fair, they're little bits. Like I said, the newer version's real refined, but nothing that would put me off getting one second hand. Obviously, the condition of this, like we've already discussed, is not the best because it's been abused at the end of the day, so it's held up pretty well. But let's just jump on it. Now, the one thing I'll say, when you swing your leg over, obviously for a lot of people what's important is seat height. Now, I'm an average 5'8", skinny, very muscly, pie loving man, and what I'll say is that my heels are on the floor super comfortably. It does literally fit perfectly. The bars are, for me, a good height. The one thing I forgot to mention is just here that these older versions come with an good old-fashioned manual choke. The newer versions don't, but that's, you know, not the end of the world in any way, having to move that on a cold day. To fire these up, these are literally a dry start bike. You just press it, and that is it. A lot of bikes will give it a little bit of twisty to give it a few revs. Not these. You just press that, and it's all happy days. Right, let's take this for a ride and see if we can feel any differences, or if it feels rubbisher, or if it's even worth getting on one. So initially, straight off the bat, on a nice old bit of British, really bad road, it feels just like my 2021. It sings when it goes along. I do apologise, like I said, for a little bit of rattle coming from the windshield with that little bit of screw missing. That is a tad annoying, but I'm sure if you own one of these, that wouldn't be a problem. Okay, so, you know, you can look at these like they are a budget adventure bike, and, you know, you get what you pay for, but I generally look at mine and think, do you know what, some things do look a little bit cheap. The handlebars, the switch gear doesn't look amazing, but it all works quite well. I mean, again, look, that bit there, if you can see it, it's slightly not lined the best, but to be fair, again, it all just works really well. Anyway, let's test the brakes on this budget bike. Let's get it to a decent speed and slam them on and see how it does at the old stopping, because a lot of people moan about the brakes, believe it or not, these. There we go. And brake. Woo! All right. I wouldn't say you stop on a penny, but there is plenty of brake there. I don't know what the moaning's all about, people. You do see a lot of views going, you know, if it had dual brakes put on the front, it'd be like 10 million times better. Stops all right to me. I wouldn't worry about doing an emergency stop if I had to. I could easily lock up the rear if you wanted to. Now, the one thing I've mentioned quite a lot of times is the handling on these. For me, for an adventure bike, is sublime. They really handle well, like surprisingly well. And even the older ones, even these, have that feeling like they're gripping the road, and like you feel like you can get your knee on the floor. They just look one-handed. It leans almost for you. It's a really nice, well-balanced feeling when you're going around the bends. It really is. It feels good. Now, if anyone's interested in taking these off-roading, what I do like about them is they do come with that bash plate, and I mentioned that before when I bought mine, and I really like the point that it comes with that bash plate. And the reason why is because whenever you buy a bike, you don't want to just spend a whole heap of money on extras to make it capable of what it's capable of. And this having that low back torque is just great off-road. So it ticks those boxes. Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Well, a lot of people instantly say about the Himalayan is it isn't very quick. So I'm going to do a 0 to 60 and we'll see how quick she actually feels and if she feels plentiful or not plentiful. And again, loads of people actually go, oh no, you've got to have at least a 650 or above. Shall we find out if this 411cc engine can give it enough beans to make it still excitable? Okay, 0 to 60, here we go. Let's put this down. Let's get the action going. And 1, 2, 3, go! And we're going to hit 60. Now, there's 60. Woo! Now again, to be fair, I wouldn't say I felt like I was being pushed back in the seat. I wouldn't feel like that was massively quick, but it got to 60 pretty quickly though. In reality, it wasn't quick, but it was quickly. And that was alright. To be fair, that was alright. 0 to 60, not too bad. Okay, so one thing I've noticed from the older version to the newer version, on this older version, if you look here, my legs are just touching where this tank sticks out here. Now, I think they've got rid of that on the newer version, and that's to be aware. Now, I do have long legs, short body, so I'm stumpy with long legs. I don't know, I like pie and I'm happy, but basically I can actually feel my legs digging in a little bit, so it might be worth going when you test ride to consider that on a run, because I think that would actually quite annoy me on the older model. I generally do. I think that would actually potentially be quite painful on a long run as well. Now you can sit back in the seat, but I find the seats push you quite forwards on the Himalayans, so you do end up a little bit more close to the tank, and then just on that corner is where it's touching. Ooh, not as nice as the newer version, I've got to say. Again, you can get a flatter seat, you can get an aftermarket seat that will help draw you back, but that's a little bit of a downer on the older version. What I haven't experienced on the new. Be interesting to find out if my tank feels different to that. So I want to talk about road speed, like the fast road speed. Yeah, like this is a good 60 mile an hour road, and this bike will sit there and hold it. Now, it's the higher end of 5,000 revs, not that shy off of 6, but look, it's 60 miles an hour. It will comfortably cruise along with no problems at all. And it will thump away like this all day long. And so it doesn't struggle getting there either. It will sit there and hold it up and downhill with its low torque. Not an issue at all whatsoever. Thumps along this baby, thumps along. Okay, so the big test, like let's say the motorway test. Will it hold that 70 lovely? Will it not hold the 70 lovely? And all that stuff. When you want to bomb it to get to your destination. When you've got to do that really rubbish sort of dual carriageway or motorway speeds. Let's see how well this Royal Enfield Himalayan is going to hold it on this road. That will be quite interesting because at 60 we're at top of the rev sort of range. Let's see what it's like now. Woohoo! Here we go. Alright, up in 5th gear, 70 miles an hour. 5th gear, 70 miles an hour. Just shy of 6,000 revs. Easy. Absolutely easy. Let's see how fast she can go. Got it! Well, I think I've proven that you can do 60 miles an hour. Happily. I've proven you can poodle around the country. Happily. I've proven that you can even do 70 miles an hour nice and steady and just enjoy it. I've done that. I've proven that. It is fact. Now what I'll say is that there'd be no way at all that I would know that this bottoms out at 85 miles an hour. But it does. And if you're after something that can obviously bomb along at, say, a ton, this isn't the bike for you. The likewise on acceleration, it pulls away beautifully. There is plenty, but it's not throwing you back like now. This is me pinned it. It's just a nice, solid acceleration. So if you're looking at buying one of these to, say, rob a bank and get away from the police will keep up with you. This does not chuck you back on acceleration, but it will get you away if you went off-roading. Now, for me, I'd be looking at doing like a pie heist and going to a pie factory and loading up the panniers you could get with these with loads and loads and loads of pies. And again, I'd have to take it off road, so I'd probably have to eat the pies first. But anyway, it's just not that kind of bike. You don't buy it thinking it's going to be uber powerful, but it's got, in my opinion, enough as a good all-rounder. Well, my final thoughts while I'm sat here on this 2018 Himalayan, and for me, for the money, if I had all the panniers and all the extra stuff I wanted, I'd buy one used. I really, really would, because you get all that stuff and basically it's for nothing. Someone else spent all their money kitting it out. But I generally still go and buy one brand spanking new, because these hold their money so well and then add the bits I want to add on. But that's the only way I do it. But you've got to look at the Himalayan like a very simple thing, that you can buy 2 of these basically for the cost of a Triumph Tiger 900 or something at that level. And if you're going to do a little bit of green laning, thumping around in the country, and some sort of decent-ish sort of distance trips, I'm not talking about riding it around the world, but decent distance trips, this bike will do it all. And that's so far my experience is that I do find it comfortable, I do enjoy the ride, and yeah, the Himalayan does tick so many boxes. So there you go, that is literally it. I'd buy a bike all kitted out if I was buying it second hand for the money, but I'd still say go and buy new. Well, we save everything till last. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give you this 2018 Royal Enfield montage. Enjoy.
It won't go away. I've got that feeling rushing through my body. I know that it is here to stay. It's like you're my personal Illuminati. I know that some might say that I am just a bad girl, but if you treat me right, I will be the best girl in this whole world. No, I'm not gonna fight. I've got my hands on your body, so tell me what you want me to do. I can be good or be naughty, because there ain't nobody love you like I do, like I do, like I do, like I do, like I do,
Well, there you go, another absolutely awesome episode. I just want to say a massive thank you to all the people that hit that lovely red button and subscribe to this channel. Without you guys, this channel couldn't grow, and it's going from strength to strength to strength. So thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. also giving us a comment and a thumbs up. I massively appreciate it. I also want to say a massive thank you to my patrons. These guys are the ones that help support this channel every single month, and without them I couldn't keep this content coming as quickly as I do, and let alone afford all the equipment and all the stuff we need to make these episodes happen. So thank you so much to my patrons. If you're interested in supporting the channel in that way and becoming part of what I like to call the executive patron club, then you can from as little as £1 a month, and you go via the link down in the description to Patreon. You get to see the videos first, and you get your names in the credits of every single video, and do you know what, you get to comment on them first, and there's a live chat on there. It is really a helmet head sort of exclusive club. It is really cool, so please check that out. Like I said, a link down in the description, as well as the merchandise shop where you can buy the most coolest t-shirts in the world. And of course you've got things like the water bottle, the mug, all the stuff you see in other episode. It's all there in the merchandise shop for you to own yourself. So please go and click in the link, check out the shop, buy the mug that makes everything taste a million times better. Not proven or guaranteed. And then, of course, we live by 3 famous sayings on this channel. The most important sayings, the gospel of life, the thing that we all live by. And of course, that's eat pie, ride motorcycles, and be happy. I'll see you in the next bonkers helmet head adventure. Bye-bye for now.
Tonight we're running on the right track.